This is some pictures of the American soldiers. Next.
Leaving.
Next. Next.
This is Incheon.
Next.
That's a soldier.
Okay, next. This is the landing of General Douglas MacArthur. He landed in Incheon, and that gave the victory, and we went all the way to the Yarrow River. Next. This is 38th parallel. You see, when Second World War was over, U.S. and China and Great Britain, Soviet Union, and France, they say, what are we going to do Korea? Unfortunately, they say north of 38, let Soviet Union help establish North Korean government, and south of 38, U.S. to help South Korean to establish their own government. Instead, they didn't do that, and they established communist government in north, and of course south was free south. Okay, and this is the Incheon landing. Next, this is the U.S. soldiers. Next, next. This is a lot of shooting. I heard a lot of shooting. Next, next, and these are some soldiers. Okay. Next, next, next.
There's a puppy, by the way.
Yeah, puppy.
Kitty.
Okay, these are some Korean children that they've been given chocolate. Next, next. Wounded soldier being carried by fellow soldiers. Next, next. This is the destruction of the, I think, Southgate.
Suwon.
Next, yeah. Korean young children that they lost their loved ones. Next, next. Medical department, hospital unit. Military, they always have hospital unit. Next, next. And this is President Syngman Rhee, okay, being given the flower by a little Korean girl. Next, next, next. Then truth was signed July 27, 1953. Next.
From all over the
Next. Next. Okay. Now, it brings up to now. June 12. Today's what? 3, right? 9 more days. President Trump and Chairman Kim Jong-un going to meet in Singapore. We all need to pray that they may agree on peaceful end of Korean War, and rather than fighting, help each other in terms of economics. All right? This is no time to criticize President Trump or Chairman Kim Jong-un. This is the time we need to pray, and we need to be thankful that President Moon Jae-in and Kim Jong-un talked together and tried to establish something good. So now they're thinking about having train going from Busan to Soviet Union, then Seoul to Sinuiju and to China. So we may be able to go to Europe from Korea through train. So they're trying to do something good. But unfortunately, some political leaders try to be critical to each other, and that's not the way to do it. Okay? So we need to pray. Next.
Okay, so I'll go to the next one now.
All right, good enough. Now, light, please. Okay. Now, next I want to give you some statistics. Okay? You may want to write some of this down, and in case you need some reference, I'd be glad to give you this. Okay? Okay, let's turn the lights off now. I wish we could control the light so that, okay, that's fine, right there. That's good. Okay, full screen.
Oh, yes.
This is about the Korean War. Remember this date, June 25, 1950, till July 27, 1953. About 3 years. Guess what I was doing during that time? I was about your age. I was one of the youngest interpreters for the U.S. Army. And I met Army officer, Captain Phillips. He wrote to his mother about me, and she got me a scholarship to come to school. I came to Freed-Hardeman College in Henderson, Tennessee, with a full scholarship. So I am tragic result of Korean War because I was separated from my family. Then fortunately I became interpreter for U.S. Army, okay? Then I came to America. So I took advantage of difficult situation to do something good. So I'll share with you what I did with the opportunity God gave us. Next. Okay, the first war in which the United Nations played a role, okay? When asked to send military aid to South Korea, 60 countries participate in Korean War, and 41 sent equipments and aids and so on. Next. The United States spent around $67 billion on the Korean War. The truce talks lasted 2 years and 17 days. Next. U.S. troops statistics. 33,700 American soldiers died. Non-hostile, 2,800. Total in theater, 36,000. U.S. wounded in action, 103,000. Can you imagine? Next. Other casualties by countries. South Korea, 217,000 military and 1 million civilian being casualties, okay? North Korea, 406,000 and 600,000 civilians. China, 600,000 military. Next. June 25, 1950, 135,000 soldiers came to South Korea. Guess what? I went to Washington, D.C. for a meeting, and I heard Soviet Union at that time gave a speech. They say South Korea invaded North Korea. I stood up. May I have your attention, please? I was there the morning of June 25, 1950, when I saw North Korea invade South Korea. Don't you ever say that. That's a lie. I was afraid they might take me to somewhere and kill me, but fortunately, they let me alone. So sometimes, let me tell you something. In order to fight for what is right, you have to speak out loud and clear. And I was never afraid to speak for what is right. Next. June 26, 1950, U.S. President Harry Truman said, we're going to send the U.S. troops. June 30, 1950, Truman ordered ground troops to go into South Korea. If Truman did not do that, today we won't be here. Next. June 23, 1951, Jacob Malik, Soviet delegation to the UN, proposed a ceasefire. Can you imagine? They proposed ceasefire. That's one good thing they did. July 10, 1951, truce talks began in Kaesong. That's my hometown. Next. October 25, 1951, truce talks moved to Panmunjom. Okay. November 27, 1951, both sides agreed to existing battle line would be the final dividing line. Next. July 27, very important, 1953, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Chinese People's Volunteers, and the United Nations signed an armistice agreement. What happened to South Korea? President Syngman Rhee said, we're not going to sign. Okay? Next. April 27, during a day-long summit, South Korean President Moon Jae-in and North Korean chairman, they agreed to promote peace in South Korea. 65 years after hostility ceased. Because of the involvement of the United Nations and the countries such as the United States and China, the war, these nations will need to be signing their agreement. We need to pray that they will do that. So that concludes my presentation on Korean War, okay? And after I make the presentation, and Mr. Lee make the presentation, we'd be glad to answer any questions you have. Now then, 7 steps to success. And if you have your notes, I hope you will write it down. 7 steps, okay? I give this speech at many high school and college graduation. Whenever I give this speech, I get standing ovation. Whenever I give this speech, you know, many universities, they are grateful. Now, I want you to write it down. Next, 7 steps to success, okay?
I'm trying to make it clear.
Okay. Next.
Hold on. Is that better? Okay.
Okay. I met Dr. Edward Deming. He's the one who took total quality management to Japan, okay? And I'll give you 2 principles. He said, you satisfy your customer first time and every time, and you do the right things first time and every time. That's what he taught Japanese people. They took that literally, and they became very rich, okay? Later, U.S. learned how Japan was successful, so U.S. decided to do the same thing. That's what I taught at the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Next. Okay, this is the one I was talking about. Foundation of success, total quality management. Satisfy your customer first time and every time. Do the right things first time and every time. You know why some business succeed? Because they practice this. You know why some business do not succeed? Because they do not practice this principle. Whose cell phone is that? I don't want any competition. Okay. All right, next. Step 1, remember this. This is a very, very important one. If you want to succeed in life, you must have a big dream. How many of you, raise your hand if you want to be successful. You want to be successful? Good. Raise your hand if you want to be happy. Okay. Raise your hand if you want to be rich. Good. Nothing wrong with the rich if you use that right. Okay. I have studied many, many people, how they succeeded. Okay. And one thing everybody had together, common, was they had a big dream. I'm sure these retired officers, they succeeded because they had a big dream. Okay? So I want you to have a big dream. Don't dream small. Okay? God doesn't charge you more because you big dream. And God doesn't charge you less because you dream small. In fact, God wants you to dream big. Big dream. Okay? Never be afraid to big dream. Okay? Big dream. Next.
Hello.
They are doing the impossible. I want to challenge you to become the first Korean American governor of your state in California. Next. I want to challenge you to become the second Korean American congressman of the United States. Right now, young Kimmy is trying to do that, and I hope she will win the election next Tuesday. Okay? If you live in that district, I hope you will encourage your parents to vote for. Next, I dare to dream big to become the first Korean American senator in the United States government. You know, we never had one senator. But I want you to dream big so you can become our senator. Okay? Next. I dare you to dream big to become the Korean American, what? President of the United States. How many of you were born in this country? Raise your hand. You see, you can become president, but I cannot because I was not born here. I want you to dream big so you can become the President of the United States of America. It can be done. Korean people are smart. You know that? You should be proud to know that you have Korean blood. Korean blood is very, very important. We have that dream, we have the drive, we have the courage, we have the faith to do what we want. Okay? How many of you go to church? Raise your hand. Okay, if you don't go to church, I hope you will start going to church. Because the people that I know being successful, they have a Christian background. When you have God as your backer, who's going to be against you? So if you are not going to church, I hope you will start going to church. And when you go to church, pray for Dr. Jin. I need a prayer. Okay, next. I dare you to dream big. To be the next Ban Ki-moon. Who is Ban Ki-moon?
UN.
Anybody know?
Yes.
Yes. He was Secretary General of the United Nations. Korean. Okay? Okay? Okay. You can dream to become next Ban Ki-moon. Next one is next Martin Luther King. You know who Martin Luther King is? Who? Civil rights leader, right? You can be that person. Next one. You can be Jim Young Kim. Who is Jim Young Kim? He is the president of World Bank, Korean American. Okay? You can be next World Bank president. Dream big, okay? You can become next Bill Gates. Who is Bill Gates?
Microsoft.
Founder of the Microsoft, right? Billy Graham. Who is Billy Graham? Who is it?
Preacher.
You know? Preacher. Okay? He preached all over the world. Neil Armstrong. Who is Neil Armstrong?
Walked at the moon.
Astronaut. Okay? Next. To become the next head of the United Nations Specialized Agency. Next. These are all those United Nations Specialized Agency. You can become the head of it. Next. 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 I'm working with the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon to send 50,000 computers to Africa to carry out United Nations global mission. Next. That's me in the wall on the left. During the war, I went to church. I prayed to God. Next. This is the lady who washed 1,000 shirts, 2,000 shirts at 10 cents a piece. Saved how much? 10 cents times 2,000 is how much? $200, right? She took that to college president and said, Mr. President, this is all I have. I want you to bring Jean to America. He was so inspired. He gave me a full scholarship. She's the lady who never seen me, had a Christian love to send me the first Bible I ever had and brought me to America. That's the real Christian love Matthew 25th chapter is talking about. Feed the hunger, take the strangers in, visit those who are sick, visit those who are in prison. That's the real Christian love. I hope you will become Christian so that you will extend Jesus' love to other people, like Mrs. Phillips did. Okay? Next. Guess what? Dr. Jin used to be a cheerleader at college. You know why I became cheerleader? Because there were a lot of pretty girls. I'm just teasing. But I became cheerleader. Cheerleading taught me how to lead other people. Okay? Ever since then, I used cheerleading spirit to lead other people to the good work. Next. This is Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Next. That's when I became one of the 4 outstanding young educators of America by USAC. Next. 3 U.S. presidential appointments. Next. Next. First one was by President Gerald Ford. Appoint me to serve on National Advisory Council on Adult Education. Next. Next one was President George H. Bush. Appoint me to serve as Executive Assistant to the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Next. 1992, my wife, go back to that.
Yeah,
1992,
oops.
my wife and I
Trying to go back.
were invited to White House. That's my wife on the left. She's sitting over there. She was a top fashion model when I met her. Anyway, we were invited to the White House for Christmas party. Next, Barbara Bush died a few months ago. Next is his son appointed me to serve as the Director of Special Initiative at the United States Peace Corps for 7 years. Next. So, when that happened, Mr. Kim Bong-gun, former chairman of Korean Veterans Association, gave me a big congratulation party and to congratulate me for my appointment. Next. Then I was serving Korean American community. President Kim Dae-jung heard about it, gave me the Presidential Award. Next. And in order to do what I did, I need to prepare. And my preparation included 5 college degrees. Auburn University doctorate, Boston College master's, New York University master's, Lipscomb University BA, Freed-Hardeman AA. Full college under full scholarship. God helped me to get that. Next. I was author of the textbook. Oh, that was what you were talking about. Okay. I misspelled and she corrected. And the first Korean American regional director of Collegiate Council for the United Nations. Next. When I got my doctor's degree at Auburn University. Next. Then I speak quite a bit at many graduation exercises. And that's when I speak at graduation exercise. Next. And political seed. I was the first Korean American to run for the United States Congress. And at that time, 10 candidates ran, and I was the 3rd one. Anyway, next. And after that, many people ran and they won. So I sowed the seed, okay? KBS documentary on me, 2001, they had 1-hour documentary in Korea, okay? You can do a lot of work, so KBS will give you documentary in the future. All right, next. Then this is when I established free tutorial program to teach poor children in Washington, D.C. through television. Next. I'm speaking to many young people. This is in Dominican Republic. Next. This is Jamaica. Next. This is me speaking at the United Nations about e-book, e-learning Africa. Next. This is where I'm meeting with the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Here is Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Here is me. Normally, President of the country sat on the other side. I was sitting on the other side. God gave me that opportunity. Okay? Next. And I'm also a minister. I studied Bible 5 years. I established 3 American churches. Not Korean, 3 American churches. Next. And this is the children in Africa. I want to help them. Next. And this is the ministers of education in Africa. I met with them, so I will be working with them again when we send 50,000 computers to Africa. And I have a very, very important things I want to announce just a little bit later. Next. Okay, up to now, have a big dream, right? After this, it's going to be fast. Number 2, if you want to be successful, you have to do it right. Follow me. Have a big dream.
Have a good dream.
Hey, that way you will never dream big. Have a big dream. Real loud.
Big dream.
That's good. Second, do it right.
Do Do it right.
That sounds better. Look like you're going to succeed. Before, look like I'm going to fail. I'm a pessimist. Okay. Do it right. You know why some people are behind the bar in jail? 95% of the time they did right. 5% of the time they did wrong. Killed somebody or stole some money. They behind the bar. Okay? I hope you will all do the right things. It makes me sad. I hate to mention, but I'm going to do it. Former presidents of Korea stole money from people. They're in jail. They're not a good example. They should feel shame. That's why we need young people like you who believe in the right things and become leaders. Do the right. Next. Whatever you do it right first time and every time. That's the key word. Next. Here's the President Reagan I met. I want to do what is right. So I challenge him to appoint first Asian American to Civil Rights Commission and Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Next slide. So I propose a meeting. And right there is me. Okay? It's the President Reagan. And when I say, Mr. President, you are making history today by meeting with Asian American leadership. But I'm going to help you to make second history. He said, what's that? He said, Mr. President, while Asian Americans being discriminated, U.S. presidents appointed 25 civil rights or EOC commission. And guess how many of them are Asian American? He said, how many? 0. That's when he turned to presidential personnel on the right, Bob Tuttle, said, Bob, see what you can do. I said, Mr. President, my speech is over. Bob, I will be calling you. I've been calling him every week. Then within 6 months, first Asian American was appointed to Civil Rights Commission, and first Asian American was appointed to U.S. Commission. Why am I mentioning this? I want you to do that in the future. That's your responsibility. I won't be here 20, 30 years from now. You have to take over. Okay? You have to challenge U.S. President. Okay? You have to challenge Korean President to do what is right. Next. That picture is history. That's going to be in my book, by the way. Next one is against immigration law. Senator Alan Simpson want to do away with immigration law, second and fifth preference, which allows citizens to invite their loved ones to America. So we fought against that. It is still there, okay? We can still invite. Next. Fought against the U.S. Senate to change the existing immigration. That's what it is. Next. Number 3, write this down. Whatever you do, do your best. Repeat after me. Do your best.
Do your best.
That sounds much better. What is number 1? Have a big dream. Number 2?
Do it right.
Number 3?
Do your best.
Do your best. Don't you ever forget that. Okay? You know the ones who receive gold medal? Next. Like Kim Yeon-ha, because she did her best. Don't be like one talent man in the Bible and bury your talent in the ground. Be like 2 talent men and 5 talent men. To make 2 more, make 5 more. Okay? Next. That's Kim Yeon-ha. Okay? Next. Number 4 is do it more. Repeat after me. Do it more.
Do it more.
Okay. Do it more.
Do it more.
More than average people. If you do average, you're not going to succeed. You have to do more. You have to study more than other people. You have to clean your house more than other people. Okay? Whenever you do more in business, you're going to succeed. Lazy knucklehead, they will never succeed. Sleepy knucklehead, they will never succeed. But the one who is willing to do more, they'll succeed. Next. Do it more than average people. Next. Number 5 is do it with thanksgiving. Every successful people I know, they are thankful people, okay? If President of the United States are thankful to serve this country, then how much more we need to be thankful. So today, I want you to go home. I want you, on the way home, if you have $1, if you don't have $1, ask me or ask Miss Corn, we'll give you $1. I want you to buy one rose or one carnation. Take it to your mom and dad and say, I love you. Thank you for your love all these years. Okay, do that, all right? And don't just wait for Mother's Day or birthday. Just sometimes you got extra buck for something, buy a rose or a carnation and take it to mom and dad and say, thank you for your sacrifice. You know your parents sacrificed a whole lot to give you what you have? Do you know that? Yeah. Today you go home, you have food, don't you? They sacrificed a whole lot to give you that food. They're willing to work till 11 o'clock at night. Get up 6 o'clock in the morning. Be thankful. Be thankful to God that you live in America. Be thankful to God that you can go to church. In communist country, they cannot go to church. Here, you can go to church and you don't even go. Sad. So be thankful. Guess what? I went back to Korea, and about 3 years ago, my 5th grade teacher was still living. I took some Korean beef. In old days, Korean beef was very precious. So in old custom, I took some Korean beef and took it to him. And I said, 정 선생님, 앉으세요. Please sit down. Then I gave him that beef, and I bowed to him. He cried. He said, how do you do that? He said, I said, you taught me to be thankful, and I'm thankful to you. Luckily, I did that, and he died 1 year later. Now, I won't be able to do that, but I'm glad I did it. So be thankful. Be thankful to somebody, all right? Next is do it with prayer. Repeat after me. Do it with prayer.
Do it with prayer.
Pray to God, okay? If President of the United States get up 6 o'clock in the morning, pray to God 1 hour, how much more we need to pray? Okay? Pray. Pray for your parents. Pray for America. Pray for Korea. And pray for your brothers and sisters. Next. Whatever you do it now. Repeat after me. Do it now.
Do it now.
If you have the spirit of mañana, you'll never succeed. Next. Next.
Conclusion.
Conclusion is, next. Repeat after me. Have a big dream.
Have a big dream.
Next. Do it right.
Do it right.
Next. Do your best.
Do your best.
Next. Do it more.
Do it more.
Next. Do it with thanksgiving.
Do it with thanksgiving.
Next. Do it with prayer.
Do it with prayer.
Next. Do it now. This is
Do it
the
now.
7 steps to success. And when you keep this, you're going to be successful. Next slide. God bless you, and may God bless America and Korea. I'm going to pray for your future, that you will do a lot of good things for America and Korea. Okay? So I'm finished, and if you have any question, we'll do that a little bit later. Thank you.
Korean War Veterans Association in the United States. He represents them, and he brought some members here, and they are very excited to share their stories with you, which is very, it's different from reading from a newspaper or books or like a slides or whatever, just to hear from them. I mean, like, here you go to a baseball games and you see the veterans or airport, you give them that little common courtesy and the thanks to them of all the, sacrifices that make for us. These people have done the same thing for us too. So we are very fortunate to have them and also to give them a thanks. And he's going to do some in Korean, so I'll do the translation. And without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Lee. Okay, one of the things that he wishes to do is there's president of this organization, Korean Veterans Association here in the United States, and his name is Kim Hae-yong, and he wants to come up and say some, not introduction, but to hello and a welcome and something introductory to all of you to share with you. 감사합니다. He will be saying it in Korean, so I'll translate it for you.
단결. 여러분 안녕하십니까?
Hello, everyone.
특히 오늘 3일 여성 동지에서 이와 같은 큰 행사를 개최하시는 여러분들, 그리고 이 자리에 참석해 주신 여러분들, 중고등학생들, 그리고 여러 가지 행사를 부담하시는 여러분들 대단히 감사하고요. 원래 여러분들의 할아버지, 할머니 되시는 분들하고 저희가 6.25를 경험을 했습니다. 그래서 지금 여기에 여러분과 같은 젊은 세대들은 6.25에 대해서 잘 모르고 계시기 때문에 이 3.1 여성동지에서 참 저희가 생각지도 않는 시기에 이렇게 큰 행사를 마련해서 하는 데 대해서 저희들 6.25 참전 용사회에서는 대단히 감사하고 앞으로도 격려의 말씀을 드리고자 합니다.
Okay, it's okay. First of all, he wants to, welcome you, and he's honored to be here to represent the generation of Koreans who actually participated in the war, who probably are about the same generation as your grandparents, and to be sponsored by our group that is a part of us, 3.1 여성동지, 3.1 Women's Association, which is a part of a heritage and group that we have. So he's excited to be here, have this opportunity to talk to all of you who probably have not heard the first account stories like this.
특히 오늘 여러분이 아시는 유명하신 진 박사께서 여러 가지 간단하게 6.25에 대한 말씀을 계셨고 대단히 감사합니다.
And he's especially thankful to Dr. Chin, who is well known in this field, to share his story with you. So he's saying thank you to that.
그리고 여러분에게 오늘 6.25에 대한 실태를 말씀드리는 우리 6.25 참전 육군 동지의 육군 부회장입니다. 아주 매주 신문에도 중앙일보에 나오고 있습니다만은 우리 한국의 6.25 당시에 일어났던 모든 문제, 또 현재의 남북 간의 여러 가지 회담, 평화 회담을 위한 예상을 이 신문에 내고 그런 분입니다. 아주 훌륭한 분입니다. 여러분 다시 한번 더 박수로 보내주시면 감사합니다.
We are very honored to have Mr. Lee, who is weekly writing editorial and articles in the 중앙일보, the Korean newspaper in town, and in many subjects related to Korean securities and the Korean problems and all things that's related to current events and everything. So he said we're very lucky to have him, who's very knowledgeable in this field.
그리고 앞으로 여러분들이 3.1 여성 동지에서 이와 같은 행사를 하게 되면은 6.25 참전 유공자회 우리 서부지의 일동은 이 행사에 적극 협조하고 후원하도록 그렇게 하겠습니다. 그리고 회장님 좀 나와주세요.
And then also he said that he's hoping that in the future, and then even now and in the future, with many events that we are all learning about the heritage and also anything related to Korean security and our history and the heritage, that he's hoping that we would also always hold hands together and collaborate with each other and then try to learn it and share with each other.
그리고 여러분들이 나중에 자세하게 시간 있을 때 보실 수 있도록 회장님께 한국 전쟁의 6.25 실상 이 테이프하고 여러분이 아시죠? 그 국제시장이라는 영화를 보셨죠? 이 두 가지를 회장님께 드리겠습니다. 여러분 나중에 시간 되실 적에 회장님한테 보여달라고 하세요.
So and then he's also gifting two DVDs. One of them has to do with the full history of a Korean War, and the second of them is that movie 국제시장. I don't know what it was called in English, but anyway, that was a movie that was in the theaters. It also told the story about during that time evacuation from Kapoitang to Busan and all that. Anyway, he just gifted that DVD, so when we have a chance, if you want to maybe even rent it for your home for the weekend or something like that, we can try to do that so you'll have a chance to take a look at it too.
다시 한번 여러분께 오늘 강연을 통해서 6.25에 대한 실상을 확실히 이해해 주시기 부탁드리겠습니다. 그리고 여기에 참석해 주신 모든 선생님 그리고 여성 3.1 여성 동지의 여러분들 대단히 감사합니다. 네, 안녕히 계십시오.
감사합니다.
다음으로
And he's hoping through today's speech that you will all take away with some true knowledge about the Korean War, and hopefully it'll stay with you, and it'll be a starting point for future learning and all that understanding everything that goes in the future. 감사합니다.
충성. How many students are understanding Korean language? Raise hand.
Do you want me to translate or not translate then?
Okay, if I need to translate, I ask her. Okay?
Okay. You let me know too if you want me to.
I think you are so tired and you have any schedule for school homework or testing, examinations, so far. But I'm going to make a short story about the Korean War. Okay? Today, I want to show the video, which is Korean War, after the broken out to the end of the war. But the problem, the computer. So I'm going to disregard this one, and I just talking about it by myself. Okay. First of all, number one, Korean War fact. Number two, battle casualties of the Korean War. Military killed and missing. Military wound, which means many losses, Korean young students and soldiers. Number three, July 27, 1953, armistice ends the Korean War. And last one is story about my experience during the Korean War. Okay. Number one, Korean War fact, which is, I think I want you to read this paper. Who's going to read it? This is not too long. Okay, come on. Okay. From this here. Okay.
So the timeline. June 25th, 1950. 135,000 soldiers from the Communist North Korean People's Army, or NKPA, crossed the 38th parallel and invade Republic of Korea. June 25th, 1950. The UN Security Council denounces North Korea's actions and calls for cessation of hostilities and withdrawal of the NKPA to the 38th parallel. June 26, 1950. U.S. President Harry S. Truman directs General Douglas MacArthur to evacuate American dependents from Korea and to assist the ROK Army. June 30th, 1950. Truman orders ground troops into action. July 1950. In the first month of the war, U.S. soldiers kill significant numbers of Korean civilians under a bridge near a village called Nogunri. No-Gunri. It is unclear whether the soldiers were ordered to kill civilians or acted on their own. July 5th, 1950. For the first time since the end of World War II, U.S. troops go into battle at Osan, 30 miles south of Seoul. The first American casualty of the Korean War dies here, Private Kenneth Shedrick of West Virginia. June 23rd, 1951. Jacob Malik, a Soviet delegate to the UN, proposes a ceasefire. July 10th, 1951. Truce talks begin at Kaesong. October 25th, 1951. Truce talks are moved to Panmunjom. November 27, 1951. Both sides agreed the existing battle lines would be the final dividing line between North and South Korea if a truce is reached in 30 days. April 1952. Truce talks are deadlocked over voluntary repatriation. October 8th, 1952. Truce talks are adjourned. April 26, 1953. Truce talks are resumed, and the communists agree to voluntary repatriation. July 27, 1953. Democratic People's Republic of Korea, Chinese People's Volunteers, and the UN sign an armistice agreement. The Republic of Korea refuses to sign. However, hostilities cease within 12 hours. Terms of the armistice include creation of the demilitarized zone, the DMZ. Each side is 2,200 yards from a center point. The DMZ is patrolled by both sides at all times.
Okay, thank you. You understand what it's reading, huh? Okay. After that, battle casualties of Korean War since 1950 through 50 to 53. North Korean Communist military killed and missing 406,000 soldiers. Military wound, injured soldiers are 1,500,000. How about the South? This is a very sad story. South Korean soldiers are killed and missing 217,000. Injury wound 429,000 soldiers. Red China 600,000 killed and missing. 716,000 were wounded and injured. And U.S. 36,568 soldiers are killed and missing. 103,284 soldiers are wounded and injured. Other countries, UN forces, 3,063 killed and missing. 11,817 soldiers are wounded and injured. This is a casualties. Next. This is about the July 27, 1953. Armistice ends the Korean War, which is a detailed story to make it short. Anyone who read this one again, better English reading than me. Okay, again. So I want you to be better understanding.
네. July 27, 1953. Armistice ends the Korean War. The Korean War began on June 25, 1950, when Communist North Korea invaded South Korea. Almost immediately, the United States secured a resolution from the UN calling for the military defense of South Korea against the North Korean aggression. In a matter of days, U.S. land, air, and sea forces had joined the battle. The U.S. intervention turned the tide of the war, and soon the U.S. and South Korea forces were pushing into North Korea and towards that nation's border with China. In November and December 1951, hundreds of thousands of troops from the People's Republic of China began heavy assaults against the American and South Korea. The war eventually bogged down into a battle of attrition. In the U.S. presidential elections of 1952, Republican candidate Dwight D. Eisenhower strongly criticized President Harry S. Truman's handling of the war. After his victory, Eisenhower adhered to his promise to go to Korea. His trip convinced him that something new was needed to break the diplomatic logjam at the peace talks that had begun in July 1951. Eisenhower began to publicly hint that the United States might make use of its nuclear arsenal to break the military stalemate in Korea. He allowed the nationalist Chinese government on Taiwan to begin harassing air raids on mainland China. The president also put pressure on his South Korean ally to drop some of its demands in order to speed the peace process. Whether or not Eisenhower's threat of nuclear attacks helped, by July 1953, all sides involved in the conflict were ready to sign an agreement ending the bloodshed. The armistice, signed on July 27, established a committee of representatives from neutral countries to decide the fate of thousands of prisoners of war on both sides. It was eventually decided that the POWs, could choose their own fate, stay where they were, or return to their homelands. A new border between North and South Korea was drawn, which gave South Korea some additional territory and demilitarized the zone between the two nations. The war cost the lives of millions of Koreans and Chinese, as well as over 50,000 Americans. It had been a frustrating war for Americans, who were used to forcing the unconditional surrender of their enemies. Many also could not understand why the United States had not expanded the war into China or used its nuclear arsenal. As government officials were well aware, however, such actions would likely have prompted World War III.
Thank you very much. You got it? Okay, good. Next session is actually video watching, but it doesn't work. So if you wanted to watch it, Korean War, you may take into the computer. It's the Korean War site, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you about the story of my experience in Korean War. High school students, raise hand, high school, senior. Senior? Okay. When the Korean War broke out, I was a high school student in Seoul. Age was 16 years old. When the North Korean Communist Army attacked and occupied Seoul, many young students away from their family rushed to the south and hiding deep in the mountains to flee and wait for our military bags. After a couple of months, we met with the Korean Army troops and joined as a student soldier, so-called Student Volunteer Army, followed the Korean armies in military operation without army serial number and without army ranking badges. We student soldiers has been reorganized as a student pacification activity unit under the 1st Infantry Division of Korean Army to move to the North Korea occupied territory. But at the moment, this operation has been canceled because of Red Chinese Army across the Korean border and to support North Korean troops. So we canceled all the plan to move to the North Korea. Several months later, the Defense Ministry Korean government ordered all student soldiers to return to school as a student. So I did. Just before graduating high school, I applied to Korean Army Academy. But in the meantime, I took OCS course. OCS means Officers Commissioned Students, short-term becoming officer. OCS course test for a proficiency test. When I passed the test, we immediately joined the military service for serious condition of a frontline combat situation. When I commissioned as an Army second lieutenant, some were assigned to the platoon leader in the front line. Some were assigned to the education to acquire a special communication system as a signal corps officer. I was fortunate enough to have a casualty ceasefire at July 27, 1953, while I was being educated at correspondence school. And the serious battle situation has since gone into a temporary breakout until now. After the truce, the Korean military received military assistance and support from United States for the Korean Army, Navy, and Air Force. So Korean government sent young officers and soldiers to the United States for modern equipment to receive after training U.S. military schools. I finished U.S. Army Signal School at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, after study of military radar operation, tactics and technical theories, and I returned to home a year later to do operational duty of air defense, such as fire control in the capital city, Seoul metropolitan area. A number of years later, incoming officers were released and the Korean economy improved, producing support, military equipment. In addition, I personally decided to leave the military service to become at that time, I was captain of the Republic Korean Army Signal Corps and discharged from the military service. In order to plan a new dream in my personal life, so I moved to United States with my wife and 3 kids as an immigrant in early February 1968 with the American dreams, which is you have. This is all my personal history during the war, but what I'm telling about this in this short story, I mentioned it once again. I was a high school student just like you. When I was 16 years old, I wore school uniforms and hats. But I throw my books. Instead of that, I carried the rifles. I saw many soldiers, young students, killed, died in the next to me. During that time, we bravely young student soldiers captured North Korean communist 2 soldiers. When he captured them, they are also 16 years old, just like me, from North Korea. But they are regular army. 16 years old soldiers are regular army, first step sergeant rank, regular army. They already ready to go war before so many years ago. But we didn't, we are not. We just went to school and training, and June 25th, early in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 240 North Korean soldiers tank attacked South Korea. This is Sunday morning. Everybody sleeping, 4 o'clock in the morning, South Korea. They attacked by the tank, bombed, shooting guns, machine guns. So many people were died. As you know, you can see the videos. Actually, I saw that kind of situation. We never have that happen again for my second, third generations. When I moved here, and I have my son born here and my grandson born here too, I asked him, my son's name is David, when he graduated high school, are you going to West Point Military Academy? He said, no, I don't want to die. That's American student. But when I was in Korea as a young student, no, we don't want to, we don't have a way to go away or escape. So we have to fight. This is not right. We didn't have any tank, even one. No tanks, no heavy weapons. But North Koreans, they have tanks, airplanes, everything they got, and attack and invade South Korean territory. Sunday morning, 4 o'clock. We don't remember. We never forgot. Somebody said forgotten war, but no, unforgotten war. Any questions? Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's all.
Actually, we're very, very honored, very thankful that they all defended our territories and the countries and the people so that we could all be here. And we are always very thankful to you. And Dr. Shirin, everyone who all served in a different way. Now, before we go on, I'd like to do a question and answer.